Hey, what's up everybody? Matthew Scott here, and welcome to MCR Powerhouse. So you're probably wondering why I'm in this split position. Well, there's a lot of my clients that have been trying to hit this position and have been struggling to. And although a lot of static stretching can help you ultimately hit this position, you can hit a lot of crossroads. I'm going to show you a couple of really cool techniques today that can complement your stretching routine to hit a full split position, either from the front or a box split or a side split position, as it has been called sometimes. So if you watched my last fortnight's clip on how to squat deeper, you might recognize a couple of these techniques. They are the super bend hip mobility techniques to help loosen up the hip capsule. Now, as I explained in my last clip, the hip capsule is simply the group of ligaments that surround a joint and that help maintain its integrity and its support. The muscles alongside that pass over the top also help with support too, but we're going to be focusing on the ligaments now. So, if you have access to a post, a pole, or a squat rack, great, you can do this technique and you just need a nice firm stretchy band. Now, if you have access to a squat rack like this, you can also put the squat rack attachment to it so the band doesn't slide down to the bottom whilst doing the technique. So you can maintain the same amount of pressure every time you do it. So, I'm going to be working on my right hip right now, and I'm going to be putting the pressure from the front to the back. So I'll put the band nice and deep, right up into the groin, and right up deep into the hip. That band, or the leg in which the band is attached, is always going to be the rear leg. You put the front leg forward. Now this will take a little while to get used to, but once you've got the balance down packed, you will be able to feel a deep amount of pressure into the hip, and you'll feel much more relaxed once you hop up and move around. So, I'm nice and straight, hands on the hips, or you can have something nearby to hold on to if you're struggling with balance. You squeeze your bottom muscle, lunge down into position, hold for a second, and come back up. Now, I like to say to people, hold for about 3 seconds per rep, but your legs will feel quite fatigued doing this. So start off with 1 second and work your way up. So again, I'm going to show you that again. Squeeze the bottom muscle, lunge down, 1 and up, and then you can relax. I recommend doing 1 to 2 sets of 15 reps per leg. Right, so for this example, we are using the band on the right side again. So instead of facing away from the rack, we are now going to be facing towards it. And just like before, we're going to slide the band right deep up as high as you can, just until you get underneath the bottom fold. Step back as much as you can without the band throwing you into the post. You want to be facing it and have the band going directly straight in front of you. Now, I'm holding onto the band for a bit of support and balance, but I'm not pulling on it. If you pull on it, it defeats the purpose of having that pressure push through the hip joint towards the front. You just want to hang onto it for a bit of balance. And from here, exactly as before, you squeeze the bottom muscle, lunge down, and come back up. Now, as you notice with this one, I'm not sitting in a position with the hip flexed a little bit. This doesn't give us enough of a stretch and enough of a shift in the joint to help relax the ligaments as much as having the leg back and either being completely straight, or you can even push forward a little bit so there's a bit of extra stretch in the muscle alongside the ligaments. Now, before I do the next technique, there's one thing I wanted to point out. You might have noticed I was using a rather thick green band there, and unfortunately the colours and the thickness of the bands don't necessarily correlate with the resistance of the bands. Whenever you're looking for a super band, say if you have to buy one or you don't have access to one in the gym, keep in mind that you want to have a look at the kilograms of pressure, or whether it's low resistance, medium or high resistance. For the hip ones, a very, very rough guideline for most people, you can try giving those exercises a shot on medium resistance super bands. So now let's move on to the next technique. This clever technique, which I saw on one of the Kelly Starrett Mobility WODs, is a really good way to help loosen up the muscles that bring your legs inwards and the ligaments that can develop a bit of stiffness in those areas. All you need is a chin-up rack, a stretchy band, a super band if you will, and a weights plate. Now, depending on your size, I'm going to say a 10 kilo plate should be good for most people if you can maneuver around quite easy. I'm going to use a 15 because I feel pretty comfortable with this technique. Basically, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be getting the stretchy band, wrapping it around my left hip to start off with, as deep into the groin as I can. Then I'm going to put my left leg down into a clam position, so it's just knees bent. My right leg's going to be straight. I'm going to be having the plate over the top of my left leg, and then I'm going to be lying back and squeezing my bottom for a 2-second count and repeating that for 2 sets of 15. I would do that for both sides, of course. So if I'm going to be working on my right hip, I would have the left leg straight, right hip in a clam position, plate over the top, squeeze the bottom muscles, and again, you're going to feel that really deep pressure in the groin muscles, and you might even feel it at the back too as you squeeze. And you can put more pressure down in with your hand if you like, and from here, squeeze and relax. Squeeze and relax. Now, and when you're finished, grab a hold of the band, slide your leg out, and then slowly let go. Many times I've seen people kind of just let go and it almost flicks back at them, so you'll want to be careful with that. I would recommend using a lighter resistance band for this technique, and if you do have access to a chin-up bar, that is going to be ideal. I am in the process of designing a technique like this where you don't actually need a chin-up rack. I may release it in the near future, but for now this technique works really well, and I feel it really complements someone trying to hit a side split or box split. Now time for a cool stretching technique. So this one is designed to stretch the inside of your thigh muscles. They're known as the adductors with a D, and they are the muscles that allow you to bring your legs inwards. So when you're trying to hit, say, a box split position or a side split position, those muscles are going to be under quite a fair deal of stress alongside your hamstrings. So a good way to stretch those muscles in particular is you can put your legs against 2 posts, or if you have access to a squat rack, you can get one of these. And what I like to do as a good progression, something that I show a lot of my clients, is place a barbell or some kind of stick onto the squat rack with a couple of racks. You can hang on to it. You tilt your pelvis, so I'm tilting this way, so it's like I'm trying to flare my butt facing the opposite direction and pout the chest out. The reason why I do that is because it helps align the pelvis and it allows the hip to sit into a deeper position as you do this stretch. So I'm tilting the pelvis, pouting the chest out. Really important that you keep your back straight for this technique, to start off with anyway. And you just slowly pull yourself forward, right until you get to a point of minor discomfort, and then just backtrack just a touch. So the idea of this is supposed to be a deep stretch, but not a painful one. But you should feel quite a firm stretch. I'd recommend for most people 3 sets or 3 to 5 sets of 30 seconds to a minute, depending on how much time you've got and how much you can tolerate. And I'd recommend starting off with 3 times a week. Now, if you wanted to progress this, say you've got plenty of flexibility, I do what's called the limbo. So you rack it onto something lower and you've got to get your body underneath. And you basically hold this stretch for the same amount of time. In fact, if you feel comfortable enough and you have enough time on your hands, you can actually just sit there and wait for a minute or so. And each time you can objectively measure how well you're able to move simply by putting the rack a little bit lower, a little bit lower, and a little bit lower. That's pushing the limit for me without doing any sort of warm-up. I kind of just jumped right into this. So I probably could go a bit lower, but you know, you're just gonna have to take my word for it. Now you're probably wondering to yourself, well, how long is it going to take yourself to hit the bottom split positions? Unfortunately, I can't really answer that because it does come down to the individual. If you are doing it consistently, there's no reason why you couldn't hit it in about a 6 to 12 month period, but yeah, again, it's really going to come down to how much time you commit to it, if you're going to do the little extra things, and if you've had your posture looked at in more detail. There might be something that you, for example, are missing in your hip position or your back position or your muscles that could be hindering your ability to hit the bottom split position. What I've shown you today can definitely be a great start, and definitely try applying it, but if you feel you're still struggling with it, come contact me at MCR Powerhouse and I'm sure I'll be able to have a closer look at you and see if I can help you out. And also, one other thing, a friend said to me the other day that she was frustrated with the fact that I could hit a split position and she couldn't, and I'm wondering if maybe some other people are thinking the same thing, and I just want to say that, you know, you should use it as a form of motivation and take into consideration that I have been doing some form of stretching and mobility since I was 12 years old, back when I first started playing football, and I'm 28 now, so and another example is the fact that I was doing Olympic weightlifting for 6 years. That sport requires a lot of mobility. Probably not as much as a dancer, but it still required me to hit some pretty deep positions as a way to recover. So I already had quite a bit of experience before I consciously started trying to hit a full split position. For me personally, it took about 3 months. Again, keep in mind, I was already 3/4 of the way there. But for yourselves, just remember, use it as a way of motivation. See me do it, you can do it too. So, from everyone at MCR Powerhouse, I will see you next time. Catch you later.